Everybody. I'm Joe Powers. I'm your vice president. Our president, Sandy, she can't be here. Her mom's got some hospital stuff she's got to do, so she's taking care of her mom. And so she sends her apologies. She might actually be on Zoom on her telephone or something, but she can't really participate. So I'm taking control tonight and doing this little MC part of it, and happy to do it. So welcome to the Youth Center. Welcome to the Houston Beekeepers meeting. First, want to thank the Youth Center for letting us use their facility. In terms of our budget, they're letting us use this place for free, which really fits in with our budget for everybody. That's kind of our budget. Free is good. And then I encourage you to pick up one of these brochures. Youth Center does a bunch of continuing classes for adults, all about wellness and stuff like that, and it's all good stuff. And basically, this is a little bit old brochure here, but you go to their website, which is www.houston.org, and you can find out all you want to know about the Youth Center and what classes they have. They do online classes and in-person classes. So a couple of announcements. We have at least a couple of board members who are rolling off this year, so we're going to need more people to volunteer to be on the board. So if you feel like you want to volunteer, that'd be fantastic. It's a good way if you're working on your master beekeeper, Texas Master Beekeeper. 1 year serving on the board of directors of your local bee club gets you 1 year credits for that. So, you know, it'd be great. So the more the merrier. If you want to volunteer for that, it'd be fantastic. And then we're also starting a mentorship program. We've already got it sort of started. We've got our first mentor-mentee going, but we've got brochures outside to tell you about that if you haven't heard about it already. And we're looking for somebody to be a mentorship coordinator as well as people for the board. Let's see. There we go. Okay, done all that. So let's go through my notes. And now I'd like to introduce James and Chari Elam from their speakers. They're Texas Bee Supply, and they can tell you more about themselves. That's all not enough.
Did those that want it get a copy of the brochure and that or not? That's a summary of what our program is. We don't normally do that, but it's it's not a long, detailed topic, so it's easy enough for us to put down paper, place some notes after for you. My wife Chari, I'm James. We're from Conroe, and we appreciate y'all having us up here.
We do. I want to say something though. Awesome. Yay that you're getting a mentor program. That's very near and dear to us. Y'all really push that to work because there isn't anything better than having a mentor. We know that mentors. We wouldn't be where we are without having a mentor. I want to throw an event out there for you as well. Which side do you want to be on? I'm going to throw an event out there for you that you may or may not know. It's Texas Beekeepers Association's yearly conference will be in person this year at Moody Gardens. That's close. That's a big event. Really try to go to that. It's a little pricey, but worth it. 3 days. There's honey judging. There's all kinds of wax competitions, mead competitions, everything in the world. You really should try to attend that. We're going to be presenting at it along with a ton of other beekeepers in the industry. I don't know if you are. Yes. So it's going to be worth the trip. Plus, I mean, we'll call it a vacation.
We know who featured
the keynotes we do, but I'll be honest, Joe, I didn't write it down and put it in the magazine today. Should have. If you will, and something, and I will get started here in just a second, but James and I are, yes, part of Texas Beekeepers, Texas Bee Supply, but we're also, I'm the editor of Texas Bee Supply Monthly Magazine. James does a lot of writing. If you want a free resource, that last slide that I had up there, free resource. I like this word, just like Joe has from the Young Center. Free is my middle name. So take advantage of Texas Bee Supply's free resources. That monthly magazine comes to your email. Anybody get that? Yay. So each month, we're gonna show you and tell you and do all of what we're doing now. So please, please, please do that. We have a webinar first Thursday of every month. It's done just like this Zoom. And that way, we can come into your living rooms and visit with you about what's going on each month as well.
Didn't she go to the doctor?
No, but
And then look at everything else. We have a helpline. You know, the helpline is utilized, but it's underutilized because when we go out to our BRs and have a question and the call's not available, then if you want to call someone, that's free help on 800 line. The professionals are on the other end, and you can send them pictures. They'll spend 5 minutes with you, 1 minute or 10 minutes, helping you answer questions. So please utilize that. Our YouTube channel has over 150 YouTube videos on it.
Which one's
On beekeeping, on any topic you can think of, they're being added every day.
well, they're all beekeeping.
I'll be keeping well. Sure.
Not any topic, just beekeeping.
And Chari and I also teach classes, advanced classes in our store in David, which is just outside of Lake Houston. It's actually up. It's got big manners. There's kind of like a Conroe that comes all the way to 1960. That's something like that.
Did we stop at 1960? I thought we just got out of Conroe City limits when we crossed over 59.
I took my truck down to the Ford dealer. And it was making a noise, and I hadn't told Chari that. I don't talk about this. It's making a noise when I got there. He said, nothing wrong with it, it's just droning. And I said, it's droning? He said, yeah, it's droning. I said, what do we do about that? He said, you got a queen? Wait, fix that. We'll talk about it next time.
Is that a joke?
I'm joking.
Oh my God. He did not warn me about that. I didn't really tell him it was a droning sound. Well, so, I don't know if this is in relation to anyone's problems right now, but drone layers are an issue. They're an issue at one point in your journey. How many of you have been beekeepers for at least a couple of years? Right, so have you experienced drone layers yet? Of course, yes, of course. It unfortunately is part of our journey, and knowing what to do, you know, things to identify are really gonna go, you don't need to move. So
You're good, you're good.
Oh, I can see my back. I can see.
All right. Well, I say, who's making all those drones? Where are they coming from? When we think of drones, we think of the queen laying drones. But we're gonna take it much deeper tonight. A drone, what is a drone? You know, we know that worker bees have 32 chromosomes, and drones are haploids. They have 16 chromosomes. So when a queen lays an egg, it will fertilize it or leave it alone, then it becomes a drone. Well, do we know for sure when we look at a drone cell whether the queen made it, or could it by chance be that one of the boy's sisters made it? Say, oh no, they didn't sew. My sister made me.
My sister come on.
My sister
Wait a
come on.
minute.
That's right. And of course, for the new beekeepers, and this goes really much further than I'm gonna take it, but a drone has a mother. Skip the father, no father with a drone. There's grandfather, there's sisters, there's grandson. So contemplate that. No father in a drone.
Do y'all know why? Does everybody know why? I'm gonna just say it anyway. When a queen lays an egg, her egg and her sperm are separate. Spermatheca, oviduct. So she can lay a fertilized egg at will. Typically, it's size dependent of the cell. So if she doesn't lay a sperm, it's a drone. It's an unfertilized egg. So therefore, as a mother, but no father because there's no sperm and it's not a fertile egg. That's why. It's very interesting. And when James gets off in the, I think it's diploid, haploid,
Haploids.
it gets really deep. It's so interesting. And if you ever want to go really deep into it, it is so fun to start researching it. We're going to try to keep it a little bit easy.
And just like in nature, there's always some variations on that. There's some boys that are girls, and but they're not girls, they're boys.
That's right.
Which is kind of.
That's right. All right, so the first thing we're going to have to do, if we've got a drone layer in the colony, We've identified that as drone brood. And we're gonna show you a little bit of a picture of it here in a second, but we've got to identify who the culprit is. It's one of these two girls right here. It's either the worker or it's the queen.
And when we say a drone layer, we're talking about an abundance of drones above and beyond what you normally see. We know we have a lot of drones right now, and beginning in spring, we have a lot of drones, but there's an appropriate relationship or balance within your colony. It may be 15%, it may be a number of individual drones, maybe 500, maybe 5,000, depending on the size of the colony. But when things change, when the dynamics of the hive change, where there are more drones being made than you're seeing worker bees, something's wrong. And our first evidence of that is the actual bullet-shaped drone cells. And they come in a couple of different sizes we'll talk about. So we have to decide who's actually making that drone. Is it the sister or is it the mom? Those are the only two choices. And it does matter which is doing it, because the way we address it, attempting to fix it, is determined by that answer.
So let's just kind of go over, let's start with the queen. Let's see if it's her fault. The causes could be a queen that's either running out of sperm, or she's completely run out, or she was not mated well. What ends up happening, especially here recently, has anyone gotten any rain lately? So if I've been trying to make a queen recently and it rained a lot, maybe she was only able to mate with a couple of drones or a few drones instead of what we would love to have is anywhere from 10 to 20 drones. So that's a poorly mated queen, and what could end up happening is she could just literally run out.
Or maybe she just didn't mate at all.
Maybe she didn't.
You have a virgin queen that emerged from the cell. She killed all of her competition, stung in their cells, and she's ready to go fly now. And it rains today, it rains tomorrow, the wind blows the next day. And before we know it, she's past the ability or the time frame in which she can be mated. They have a definite or a finite
Start and stop.
timeline in which mating can occur. And it's kind of like, we know a little bit about pheromones in these. Bees age out of pheromones, they age into one, then out of it into another, or the glands open up and close. The same thing can happen with the I'm trying to say abdomen, with the oviduct and such on bees, and that
Just ages out.
yeah, it ages out, they just can't make it. So sometimes virgin queens don't mate at all, in which case you go instantly into a drone colony.
Or just age out, just like women and human women, we age out of our fertility years, so do queens.
Not sure.
It just, well, yes, I do. Yes, thankfully I do. So one of those reasons, it has, that's not where we're supposed to go, right, it's not. So one of those reasons is why we've got a queen is the culprit. Those indicators, lays in mixed compact brood pattern. So it's mixed, meaning that we're going to have worker brood and drone brood kind of mixed in. I might have a worker brood cell here and a drone brood right beside it, and it just ends up looking bumpy. It's not all drone brood or all worker brood, it's mixed.
Well, what's happening is, we expect drone brood to be around the perimeter of our frames and in open spots between boxes, or if we forget to put a frame in, or inside a division board feeder, or whatever the opportunity is that we create a 2-inch space for work on to be created. That also tends to be drone brood. Well, when the drone brood starts showing up within the frame itself that was originally dedicated for worker cells, then we know there's a problem, and that problem is going to originate with the queen.
1 to 2 eggs per cell, but not in drone cells. We know that a worker bee will actually form a drone-sized cell. It's larger than a worker cell, and when a queen comes up she's laying, she's measuring the cell in front of her with her antenna and her mandibles.
Have y'all ever seen that?
It's a very cool process. It's like brood measuring to know whether or not she's going to drop a sperm with it or not.
That's right, her antenna going back and forth like that, and mandibles moving. And she's going from 4 to 5 millimeters, measuring the difference in a typical worker cell being the smaller and the drone being the larger. Well, when we're talking about this mixed brood pattern, that queen is dropping an egg which we're talking about coming out as a drone, because she got fertilized, which is that sperm, into what was supposed to be a worker cell, which is smaller. And that creates all kind of havoc. So it's kind of an explosion. Typical drone cell is large, and I call it 22 shape or bullet shape. But this is even different than that, because as that drone is going through the larval stage and heading towards pupation, they have to go in and enlarge the wax on that cell, because the drone doesn't fit. It was made for a worker. So we have the original bulbous coming up, and then we have this addition, like when our second story happened, and then the 22 kicks in. So there's visible evidence that your queen is the one doing
Just like
that.
this picture. You can see it's just not, there's something really wrong with that. That is not
That's
normal.
like popcorn, isn't it?
And the key to it all is she may continue to emit pheromone. Well, pheromone, we're in the understanding that pheromone is supposed to inhibit any other people from working and laying eggs. She's still emitting it. So, you know, everybody thinks she's doing fine, except she's not. We don't see a supersedure cell very often in this situation.
Yeah, it kind of gets confusing when we open our colonies and we see that the queen is laying, she's laying a tight brood pattern. She's laying a single egg per cell like she's supposed to do. She's doing it in a cluster, just like she's supposed to be doing. But within that cluster, we're seeing this drone brood. That's an indication to us that something's wrong. The queen did that. The queen did that unintentionally. Workers we'll talk about in a few minutes, they don't do it that way. They don't have the ability to put a fertilized egg right beside the drone. So positive indicator that we have a queen problem.
That's right. So now let's talk water workers, because really that's it for the queen. Now everything else is going to be a worker problem. Because queenless for more than 3 weeks. The reason this is worker brood pheromone. We know, and we're going to get into it in here a little bit in a description, that worker brood pheromone inhibits workers from laying. It prevents their oviducts from expanding and then being able to lay eggs.
That 3-week mark, of course, is logical, and that if an egg is laid on day 1 and a worker bee emerges on day 21, then we're at the 3 weeks. So if you go a solid 3 weeks without any new fertilized eggs being laid, and fertilized eggs do have their own pheromone, and that's what we're talking about coming up. So we lost the brood pheromone. Who decided to read that?
You did.
Joe?
No. You are.
Quote from Wisdom of the Hive: "The queen's pheromones are neither necessary nor sufficient for inhibiting worker ovaries." And that's what we're talking about, the development of worker ovaries when we're talking about laying workers. Instead, they strongly inhibit the workers from rearing additional queens. It's now clear that the pheromones that provide the proximate stimulus for workers to refrain from laying eggs comes mainly from the brood, not from the queen. There's kind of a flip-flop thing going on here. The queen's QMP pheromone inhibits the addition of queen cells by the worker bees. It stops that, but it doesn't stop worker bees from laying. But what it does do, in addition to the presence of queen cells being eliminated, if we hit a point where she's got the pheromone still and she's only laying drone brood, and we reach the point to where the worker pheromone is not present, the larva is not present from fertilized bees, then the cycle has hit and has come back again to where the QMP and the larva pheromones come into play. Everything's just total chaos, isn't it, at the hive now?
That's exactly
We've
right.
lost all of the controlling stimulus.
Well, I think that the reason we put this here is because I think we all thought that the absence of queen pheromone is what causes a worker. It's always got to be a queenless hive. That's just not the case. It is purely on this worker brood pheromone. And funny little caveat that has nothing to do with this class other than the pheromone is that's what is in attractants for swarms, is worker brood pheromone. Did you know that? It is a very strong pheromone, obviously. So we kind of broke this down for you, one equal another, one begat another.
Yeah, this is a great sequence here.
No queen equals no fertilized eggs. We get that. No fertilized equal no worker bee larva. No worker bee larva equal no worker bee brood pheromone. You see where this is going. No worker brood pheromone, no suppression of the worker bee's ovaries, no suppression, laying workers. It is a tumbling block that absolutely will happen in a matter of 3 weeks after brood is present. And it's guaranteed. Guaranteed, you've got the bees there.
It may take an additional 3 weeks for them to actually start laying. And it may be a surprise to some of you that a worker bee can actually lay eggs. Without the presence of the suppression that we're talking about, their abdomens don't necessarily get longer at all, but they're internally, they do mature internally. They can't go out and mate, but they can lay eggs at that point.
Funny you said that. We've read an article, it actually, is that there is not a visual difference. You're not going to be able to look in there and you know how we can spot the queen. You're not going to be able to see an elongated abdomen for a laying worker. That's just not the case. There's study after study after study that say that there's virtually no difference. We've got film of them laying in a cell, and they look virtually like the one right beside it that never did lay an egg.
So the brood pheromone is produced by the workers or by
the actual brood itself, and it's really interesting. The larva itself, and an actual worker can even discern whether that egg was laid by a queen, because the queen's pheromone gets left in there, and also whether it is absent from that egg. So yes, the larva itself emits a pheromone all of its own. It's interesting.
They're very in development in a sterile, a worker bee's kind of odd, isn't it? We think that they can't do that, but they can, they just cannot be made.
That's right. All right, so the indicators, multiple eggs per cell, and I think that most of us just have seen that or read that or seen it. They're haphazard. They can't, their abdomens are shorter than a queen, so they tend to not be able to reach their abdomen all the way to the bottom of the cell. So therefore the eggs are laying kind of this way, that way, maybe even to the sides, because they don't go and plant it directly straight up and down at the bottom of the cell.
You know, a new queen that's recently mated, or a queen that hasn't been laying for a while, maybe we caged it, trapped it, prevented it from laying. Once it starts back up, it may lay 2 per cell for a short period of time, but it will correct that. But even if it does, or even if she does, the egg will go all the way to the bottom of the cell and it will stand straight up. It won't touch. Whereas laying workers do not have that ability. Chari said their abdomens aren't long enough. They drop an egg and it just falls.
It just drops. And of course, the overabundance of brood, and it's spotty. It's not in a cluster, even a mixed cluster, like we know the queen, like we learned a slide or two ago, is the queen still continues to lay in pattern. The worker does not have that in her. She will lay eggs on pollen. Very interesting to see that. If you've not seen it with your own eyes.
This slide doesn't show it very well, but there is an egg right there on that
pollen. And then multiple eggs in a queen cell are cut. This could be I don't know why, maybe they're thinking that they can produce a queen themselves. Obviously, that's not viable. Very interesting, they're indicators. All right, so now I get to the meat and potatoes. Do we save it or do we not save it? There's parameters, and actually only 50%, we're going to give you that 50%, but only 50% of our attempts actually are successful to save a laying.
That number was taken from commercial beekeepers. They either try, don't try, or try various methods, and the average is 50%. Most people say it's not, most of them say it's not even worth attempting, but for hobby beekeepers, sometimes it is, because we're very proud of our little pets in our backyard. So
well, of course,
we do our best to take care of them.
all named.
I like the next one where it says not to save. There's a reason for that. We'll go ahead and read it. If a colony has been queenless for an extended time, the limited lifespan of the bees left, usually under 2 weeks, their age, how much longer they're going to live, is 2 weeks by the time we catch it, usually, making it virtually pointless. So we go out and we find maybe we do have 5 frames of bees, which our first frame was for saving. And that consideration then becomes how old are the bees that are in that colony? We're 1 to 21 emerge, and then 22 days within the colony, And Chari said, now we've got another 3 weeks before their ovarian development hits and they start laying. So we have a 3-week, a 6-week, and what was the
And
last
how
one?
long does a worker
How long
bee live?
does we live this summer?
4 to 6 weeks, 6,
So-
7 weeks?
So they're the
They're
colonies.
aging out. There's no one there to work the house.
Even though we found our 5 frames of bees, that's the reason the success rate is so poor, because the bees are so old.
But this, I want to say that to say it at 5 frames of bees, and let's qualify that, let me explain that for a second. 5 frames of bees, if you're not comfortable with what that really is, before you smoke your hive very much, look between the cracks of the bars. That's how we count bees. It's not picking up a frame and counting bees. It's in between those bars. And if you've got 5 full cracks, for lack of a better way to put it, full of bees, you may have a good population enough to, let's save it. At least it's worth the try.
Or the equivalent of multiple frames to add up to that.
Right.
A quarter on this one, then a half, and just add them all together. If the total comes up with 5, then you have a possibility of moving forward and you're reaching that 50%. There is a chance I can save this colony.
So put yourself in one of these before we move on to this. The only way to save these, you absolutely have to suppress that worker ovary. You have got, if you can't do that, simply requeening is not going to work. We can't.
Tell them a bad joke.
You cannot just go down and buy a queen. And I will say, I've heard many times of beekeepers just going down and spending that $34 or $48 and popping a queen in there. And what's the first thing that happens? They kill her. They've already got a queen. We've got somebody in here laying. She's not doing a very good job because the bird looks really lumpy, but they're not going to accept her.
When the workers are laying, they believe they're doing what nature's called them to do, to extend the life of that colony. They don't know that what they're making is all drones on runners. All they know is they're creating bees.
We gotta keep going, right? All right, so let's give you, we're entitled as possible remedies, and on your handout, we truly did make your notes for you. So you can take this home and keep it in your binder. I know you all have a beekeeping binder. We do. If you don't, you need to get one. It has a lot of information you can store up. First, identify the problem.
That picture,
Yeah,
it's showing the placement of the drone.
that's a
Out of
marker.
place.
Yeah, that's a marker right there. First, identify who the problem is. Who is the problem? Well, we're gonna start with the queen because there's really only one thing we can do if it's the queen. Just one method and one method only. You're gonna have to find and kill her because she's done already. If you can't find her, you're gonna have to take all of the bees and go shake them off about 20 feet away. All of them, her, the whole group of them, all 5 frames.
You'll read in some places other methods of doing this, they say, go at least 100 feet away. Well, we're not saying that because we're wanting some of those bees to come back.
Exactly.
That's the reason we're stopping.
Exactly, 20 feet, and they will. So we're shaking off all the bees if we haven't found the queen. If you find the queen, you don't have to shake off all the bees 20 feet away. Remove the drone frames. So if you are inundated with these drone frames, take them out, shake all the bees off of them, remove them, and replace them. Replace with new frames to the outside. Add 1 frame of combination brood. What do I mean by combination brood? Anybody know? Open and wet brood, not capped and capped. So you want it to have both. You want to have all levels of brood. You want to be able to introduce a generation plus, all right? So that's really, really important. And where are you going to add it? You're going to add it to the center. And that's really important because it needs to be put there right in the heart of the brood nest. Therefore, it's ready and it starts keeping on growing. And then we wait our normal requeening time, 24 hours. Check for queen cells though prior to doing that. Why don't we check for queen cells before we put a queen in? It is so important. If I put a queen cell in, and this is a repeated mistake often by even experienced beekeepers. We've done the split, we killed the queen, whatever your scenario, I've got a requeen, but I didn't go back and check for a queen cell to be started. It takes less than 24 hours for them to take an egg and put it in a queen cup. That's all it takes. And then they started filling that in with royal jelly, and that to them is a queen. I don't need that when you put in the box. I don't need that. So what? She's got a pretty dot on her head. Doesn't mean anything to me. So you really need to make sure that when you put that 24 hours later, that queen, that there is not a queen cell.
Let's break this down a bit further. We shook all the bees off 20 feet away. When it says remove drum frames, we're actually talking about culling those. We're pulling them out of the hive, give them to the chickens or do whatever you want to with them. Ideally, you don't want those to go back into a queen right colony because we've got all those large cells. So you're going to be producing drone for varroa mites for the rest of that frame's life. So we want to cull that frame, get rid of it. The new flame share said to the outside, one frame of combination brood, that's so important. Then the requeen, traffic queen cells. This time of year, requeening can be tough if you're not careful with your queen. I killed one yesterday. Accidentally.
Yes.
Yeah. The temperature outside is not, even though it was low 90s, and temperature inside the colony was 93 to 95. I left that queen in her clip too long. She had attendance, but she died in the temperature outside and the cold shook in her head. You think 93 and 95 are exactly the same. And that queen just died right in front of our eyes because she was exposed to the outside environment and there was no one inside fanning her and cooling her and doing what she needed. So be careful when we're talking about requeening.
Well, you were actually going to show her off and say, look how big it is. He was requeening.
Yes.
Look, I'm going to show you what I pulled out. She was a dirty girl. You look great. Come here, come see. And he picked it up. He went, never mind. Dead queen. So she was bitter than the doorknob. So yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
Right,
So on a queen, when we replace the queen, it's pretty straightforward.
It is. And any kind of requeening video you can watch would be suitable for that. Laying worker method 1. We're going to give you 3 laying worker methods. There's only one thing you can do for a queen, but we've got 3 methods. Very similar, but with a couple of different actions. Shake all the bees out 20 feet away. We heard that before, didn't we? Remove the drone frames. Sound familiar? Replace with new frames on the outside. Add a new frame of combination brood, and then requeen in 24 hours, checking for cells. Sounds a lot like requeening. The only part we didn't do was checking the yield for a queen, right? That's the only difference. It's the only difference. Shaking the bees off really does help because those 20, the 20 feet away makes a big difference. And by that time, it takes about 24 hours for them to migrate over. You're going to be requeening. This may work.
You know, a caution that we don't put in there is one. We're not talking about typically double bee colonies right now. We're talking about a colony that's lost most of its bees. And so we're not having all this extra room in there. The bee population is fixing to get a whole lot smaller when we start shaking bees off. Some of those bees are going to fly back, some of them are not. The ones that we're counting on not coming back are the nurse bees, because they're the ones that are the laying workers. The foragers will come back to a great extent. And then once that one frame, whether we queen or not, once that one combination frame becomes active with nurse bees again, hopefully it happens fast enough that we develop a queen cell. So that's our goal in doing that.
All right, so method 2. This is going to require a device. If you've not been exposed to it, remove excess drone brood frames, combine this colony, this laying worker colony, with a double screen for separation. A double screen is just as the name implies. It's got a screen on bottom with a little bit of wood and another screen. And what that does is prevent anybody from being able to touch each other. Because you can actually, as queen can see through a single screen layer into another layer. So a screen inner cover wouldn't work. It has to be a double screen, and it has entrances. You see in that picture where there's entrances up there. You're going to want to open one of those entrances. James and Chari would do the opposite direction of what that colony is normally facing. Then once recovered, because how did they recover? The pheromone from that existing queen is going to actually just overtake, and they will correct, because really and truly that's all it takes is the correction, and the workers will suppress their ovaries again, and they'll stop laying. So yeah, once this works, if it works,
the queen white colony is on the bottom,
right?
So the worker pheromone from the larva is drifting up, so that's what satisfies the conditions at the top to help stop what's happening above.
And you can leave it in place. In other words, leave that top box on there, pull that screen out, And you can either leave it there or split it back in and then requeen that one that you've now made worker-free laying worker-free. Does that make sense? So you can leave it as a double beat, or you can make a split and add a queen to that top part that you had. And I've heard the efficacy of this is pretty good as far as trying to break the lane.
And that queen right colony, in theory, it could be a nuke also. We'd have to reverse the order we just talked about with the queen right above. But we prefer full-size box, single deep down below.
There's actually one. Method 3, here we go. Switch hive locations with a strong queen right colony. I did this the other day, not for that purpose, just so I could build population on another hive. Just switching the locations. The foragers come in, and before you know it, they have corrected it just by the virtue of the population and their presence in there and eliminating those eggs.
You know, something we can't see inside the day-to-day activities inside a colony. But to some degree, we have laying workers at all times in all colonies. It's just part of nature. There's some folks do some things not supposed to do. Well, the nurse bees or the house bees within a colony, when that Chari mentioned this a while ago, when they find an egg that does not have pheromone in it from the queen, they dispose of it like trash because they don't know it's an egg. Everything's by smell. So that it might be consumed, it might be discarded. Well, what we're trying to do now, when we bring in worker bees from another colony, when they fly into this, or foragers from another colony, when they fly in, they're OCD. Things have to be right. They have to be in order. We talk about honey outside and the resources working towards fruit nest. Same thing's true here. They'll go in, they'll prevent the laying workers from flying back in for the most part. They'll also destroy any eggs that are in place, consume any larvae that's out of place. They totally restore the colony. I love this idea because we firmly believe that they're totally OCD. And when something's wrong, we do that sometimes to stop swarms where we're divine. We'll totally disrupt the whole box for a short period of time to where they don't know where they are.
Right.
The concept works. They can't stand it, so the word may is highlighted. They may restore within 48 hours. It's a good approach to try.
But again, don't forget to remove the excess drone brood. I will say we can't stress this enough because that's also a mite bomb. Because you know that throw mites love drone brood. That is a mite bomb. You do not need that added issue. Then you're going to, after they've restored it in 40 hours, may have restored it in 48 hours, combine with a worker-free colony with a clean mite colony with the newspaper method. If you've never rejoined two colonies or taken a weak colony and put it with another colony, it's a really easy process. We did a video, it's on Texas Bee Supply's YouTube channel. It's a 2-part video actually of how to introduce two colonies with a newspaper method. It's very, very simple. It's basically just using a piece of standard newspaper. You don't have to buy paper, you get free from the corner store, and put it in between.
Unless it's kind of windy.
Unless it's kind of windy. We've been known to have to one person hold and the other person set that box on top. That's you're right. Propolis helps us stick it down too.
Grab an RV trailer then.
You're right. RV trailer, that's right. But this could possibly.
And you know, newspapers, some people just use a single sheet. Some people use 2 sheets. Some people cut slits in them. Some lightly spray it with sugar water. It's just kind of a matter of personal preference. But where I'm going with this is, if you're working with a colony that had honey on top of it, you've got a super there. What are you going to do with that super while this is happening? When you're recombining these colonies, you can take a piece of newspaper and put it on top of that box. Once you join the two together, you can put it on top of the box, put newspaper between it and the super, and that slows down the ability of the colonies underneath it to access it. When they instantly access it, robbing frenzies can happen. When you throw a super on a colony that's not expecting it, you can lose a colony right off the bat. So newspaper method can come into play in that situation too.
All right, so I think the takeaway, it's a pretty easy takeaway, is you just need to keep a check on your hives. In any time during the spring, summer, or even fall, we're every other week. We're checking our hives every other week. You absolutely need to get on the schedule when you are verifying you've got a good queen right colony. And the second bullet point, requeen every year. Commercial beekeepers do this without fail. Those of us that are a little smaller than that, we tend to do it when the queen fails instead of without fail. And that can always result in another issue. Yes, sir.
So of those three methods, which one is the one that you like better, like this?
Which method do we like the best? That's what he asked.
We don't like any of them.
I won't say that's true. I don't think that's true.
I think that
I think,
the one that's got the most practical sense to me in regards to beekeeping. Well, one, if you combine a brood frame from another colony, regardless of which method you're using, you've increased the odds that it's going to work. That's just necessary. If you add a queen, you've got to give it time. You can't put it in too soon. The last one that we just talked about, switching convocations, I like that. I like that because the worker bees that are in the strong hive, again, it has to be a really strong hive, one of your best ones, they will correct the problems in that if it is correctable. What you don't want to find yourself doing is exhausting the resources of a good colony to try to save a bad colony. If you go week 1, I pull a frame out, I put it in, and darn, it didn't work. Week 2, I go do it again, darn, it didn't work. I'm gonna give it one more shot. I pulled 3 frames of brood out of a good colony. And if it's this time of year, my population's already falling, I might be destroying that colony as well. So you want to be careful when you do it and how aggressive you get. But I like the last one. Yes.
and see, I'm gonna say I like the, one of the first two where you're done fucking the bees. We've done that, where we've taken the bees and we thumped them off at that's a technical term, thump. And we take them, we go thump them off at the fence line.
We race them back, they need to see 2 bucks.
And that was successful. We've only had it happen a couple of times in a lot of years. So I think that the key to our favorite method is to not let our hives become laying workers or like one of the plants.
A practical application, and I think in our experience is 100%. It's always been the top brood box that we discovered at first. The bottom box is salvageable, it's stable, it's just like nothing had happened. You go in there, you look, you see the drone brood out of place. You see an excessive amount of drones. If you caught it quickly, you pull that box off. You go through your bottom frames, don't do the bottom box, the glass. And a lot of times that box is fine. Just pull that top off because the laying workers are up top because it hasn't drifted down enough.
Well, what questions do we have? Let's take some questions.
So James, you pull that top box off, or you just basically your idea on that is you just taking it away?
If you've got some frames you can salvage that are not so overloaded with drone brood or drone cells that you can't use, salvage it. You can reuse it, put it on top of a good column if you wish, if it's that well. But do get rid of those workers.
Just use that onto one box.
We take it in, we just freeze it and start over. Put it back on something else longer.
Yes, sir.
That's what
Y'all are not using queen excluders then, are you?
Not in our brood boxes.
Well, that was our top of the box, right? The queen excluder.
Well, we're teaching this without having honey supers on top. So without a honey super, we wouldn't have a need for a queen excluder.
And really, this time of year, does anyone have their super still on? Do you? Are you hoping for? Are you still filling? Wow.
Well, I was talking to Steve, he said, I would tell him that,
That's
that for most of the state, that the cells that are capped are already capped and it's done. But when you get to a metropolis area like Houston or Dallas or somewhere, and you've got all the landscape yards and the heights and all the stuff that's here, y'all may never stop.
That's wonderful.
Ours does.
Ours does. So
Ours
in our area,
July 4th, the fireworks stop.
it just gives a clock to it.
Scared of dogs and scared of bees.
Right. It's really, it's important that we set up a schedule, and we'll revisit this, on hive inspections and know what you're supposed to be looking for. I don't know if everyone got one, but we have a monthly tips book that we would love for you to take away with us. If we don't have enough, we'll get one to you, but each month, oh great, each month it tells you how many pounds you're supposed to have, what you're supposed to be doing each month. what you're looking for, what to expect, month after month after month. If you stick with this, you're gonna be successful. I know y'all are all very successful. You've got some great examples here in your club, in your home base, which helps a lot. But having a little take-home brochure might help. Just stay on top of it, and hopefully this will never happen. We really don't expect you to see this happen more than once or twice in your journey. So stay on requeening, and you know, and I know Nicole's about to this, we're gonna be, all of these suppliers are gonna be taking orders from next year's queens for requeening your hives for next year. Those orders are gonna start in September.
So are new sales.
Or new sales. So get ready, if you're planning on requeening so you can stop this from happening, get online and get these ordered. We'll have ours as well, Rolling Cordovans and the Texas 5000 queens.
We tend to get attached to our queens. You know,
We
it's such a
do, we
good
name
song.
them, they have
You know,
names.
we have Beatrice and all those names we can think of. And we name our colonies by where they came from, if it was a swarm or whatever it was. But a key to being a successful beekeeper is requeening. If you requeen with a reputable queen, rather than a queen that your friend gave you that came out of a swarm, your odds of success in beekeeping go up dramatically. Genetic improvements occur every single year. Our specific line, we have what we call Texas 5000 queens, and these, they come from the company owners, Black Shook's best 5,000 colonies. So they're doing a genetic culling of bees that are doing poorly with mice versus bees that are doing great with mice. Bees that are producing poor amounts of honey versus bees that are producing tremendous amounts of honey. Bees that build large populations versus bees that are just normal. So in your requeening efforts in the future, look for a queen that fits your need, that fills what you're looking for. It may be you don't want a box that has a triple D. If you're in downtown, backyard just like this, maybe you just want a comfortable bee. Maybe you want the most common bee you can possibly get because it's in your backyard by your swimming pool, and you're not interested in honey. So make your queen work for what your goals are in beekeeping, but do consider requeening if it's not part of your beekeeping tactics.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, by the time you get laying workers, it's a dead end. There's no survival value to it, so why is it?
50% of the time. Because a great deal of the population of beekeepers are hobby beekeepers and we want to try. They've invested so much,
But I mean, left alone, what happens to
they die.
It totally collapses.
them? Right, so why are they doing it?
The bees don't know the difference.
They can't overcome it themselves.
They think they're solving the problem
They do.
by laying eggs. The queen died. There's no pheromone present anymore to control what the worker bees are doing. So they do develop their ovaries, they do lay eggs. They don't know that all of this is drone. It's just a
They think
survival
they're
instinct,
patient.
but it fails.
That's
All
one
that
reason why you see it in queen
Why
cells.
that occurs and they try it.
Yeah, I mean, if they're putting all that energy into laying drones, whereas they could be making queen.
Yeah, and they only value like they'll make a queen though. If
They have
one
bio, that's right, and typically that goes away. I mean, we had, honestly, in our very beginning, we made a mistake of 20 ourselves. We had one colony, and I kid you not, that was queenless for 8 months. 8
We fed a
months.
frame of brood every week, try to keep it alive.
It was literally robbing from Peter to pay Paul to keep it going, and we truly, after that time, finally got that box with that comb that managed to stay viable and not dried out. All those months later, we got it back up and going. Was that a futile effort? Probably so. I can't imagine how many resources we threw away over the time.
That was beekeeper driven rather than
It was.
what's the best.
And
for the
a
patient.
lot of this is, and we don't want to, that's why we say may and possible, because it is just possible. A lot of, I'd say, commercial beekeepers, they're done.
A lot of that program is really devoted to understanding what one is. And if you catch it when it's early, if you're catching drone brood within the pattern of the brood nest, you're able to say, that does not belong there. I'm gonna look at it again next week and see if it's expanding or contracting.
Goes a long way.
You still have the opportunity to potentially save it just by putting that one box off and maybe make a split off of what's there and recover your loss from it or something, but if you catch it early, then it is salvageable, potentially. Yes, sir.
So if a drone has only got 16 chromosomes, how is the sperm gonna be able to fertilize?
Well, a female worker bee has 32. The drone only has 16.
If the drone's mating with the queen and he's only giving her a tag.
And that's part of the problem, like you said.
She's given,
That's part of the problem, because when if that drone that's been laid by a worker goes out to mate, it's really a problem. Then all of a sudden, we have a less significant drone. It's actually, what's the word? It's not a viable drone to be made.
I think the direction he was going though, it's the same as in humans. In humans, the female receives half of what the male has. And that combines to make the 32. It's the same thing in the diploid arrangement for honeybees. What Chari was going on though, if we have drones that were produced by the sisters, and we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, they're absolutely 100% identical
They're
because there
clones.
is no father
They're
to deal with.
clones.
The clones are identical. So if we send 3,000 of those out into nature by letting the colonies do its thing, we're doing a disservice to our forage area, to our queen breeding area, to our drone yards, because we've got this, every single drone has the same exact genetics. So if that queen mates with one of those, she's already got that DNA in her bloodstream.
Yeah.
So we're just duplicating it. We do it again,
Exactly.
we do it again. If we saturate the drone yard with poor drones, and that would be a poor drone, then the results of that colony for queen rearing are poor as well. Yes, sir.
So like on one of those frames you've taken out that had the drone, bunch of drone cells on it. You got all the beats off of it, so they can fly back. And you're gonna stick in your freezer to kill it. It's on a plastic cell foundation. You basically freeze it for a couple of days and take it out and scrape it off the tool and reuse it. That's right.
Sure, I'll give it to you. Chickens have a really cool way of just taking the larvae out and saving the frying, but.
Those of us that don't have chickens.
Are you done? Oh, you're in Houston, I forget.
Hospitals work really good though. Yeah.
They do, hospitals work really, really well. They really do. Any other questions? Well, this was great. I hope that we enlightened you and maybe anything like James said, gave you a window into what causes it and give you something to look for. Otherwise, we can prevention is the name of the game in beekeeping. Isn't that the truth?
And what a great opportunity to do some growth management. I'm knocking out all of those drum cells.
Amen.
Questions on that.
I just want to thank you for all those resources you bring to Texas.
Oh, sure.
Most of the stuff online is in Ohio, Minnesota, Alaska, so
That's true.
it's great local.
Very appreciative.
Well, and it even shows that with us being in Conroe 40 miles away, our honey production is completely different than yours.
Yeah.
So when we talk about getting 900 miles away, things really do change.
Some of you touched on you first, when it said of putting the frames in the freezer and taking them out. Could you just basically, once they're thawed out, put them back in the drums, frozen dead?
You can, if it's a strong color. Yeah.
The drum brood frozen?
Yeah.
You can, but you're forcing your colony to clean that mess up.
Okay.
And our bees are very efficient in that they'll consume protein when it suits their needs. They'll cannibalize their own brood, their swarming. But they're not going to want to eat that dead brood, so you'll end up having to pull it out, pull it to the front porch and dump it out. And you're going to go, what's happening to my colony? But it's almost like chalk brood out there.
You need to hire some chickens.
They hire some chickens, that's right. The cold is start renting out chickens. Wow. That's all.
Can y'all have chickens in Houston?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
You have to have 100 feet to your next neighbor's building, which.
But every year,
But
I fight for the legislation to get that changed.
you haven't done it.
That's the thing, like how much.
We have chickens, but our neighbors,
It's a Mrs. Roberts kind of thing.
right.
Yeah, depends on your neighbor.
Thank y'all for having us.
Hey, thank you guys for being here. So yeah, I don't know if everybody remembers, but our last in-person meeting, was at Christ Church, was not our regular Malin. Professor James and Chari were speakers at our last. I thought it'd be great to have them back to our first university to get us going again at a new different place. So we'll be here for the next few months. And I want to remind everybody, when you get here, the parking lot around the building, it says staff only, but the staff is all gone this time of night. So next time you come in, find the, you can use those spaces. We only got like 4 cars parked up there. It holds like 6 in real parking places. And then along the back alley kind of here, you can park cars along that alley, kind of parallel park them. So we can get,
close to the wall.
yeah, close to the wall, but you can squeeze some more in there. And then the lot across the way that street, across the Bank Streets, I think it is, Berthea Street, they put the arms up on their parking, you can park in that lot. So there are some park, it just takes a little getting used to, sort of like it's Bayland, the first time you go out there, you might have parked like 2.5 miles from the building, and you wander around to find where that thing is at. Which, oh, I can park out in the field, wow, that's great. So, okay, so no more questions from the Zoom group? Nope. Okay, let's do the raffle real quick. Well, should it be announcements first or raffle first? Announcements first, okay. So announcements.
You just
It's gonna dance on it.
Yeah. So we need some people to volunteer to be on the board, so, yes, think about that.
The board members get a parking spot.
Yes, board members get a parking spot. Absolutely, yes, we board member get a parking spot. Mostly because you're supposed to be here about a half hour before the meeting starts, so the spaces are all over.
And guys, if you want to be the treasurer, it is not hard. We have modernized.
Yeah.
We are in a great place. It's easy to do. There's a couple more things. We're gonna get our 501c3, which is kind of what I was.
Should be happening
Do.
soon, yeah.
So,
And then
come someone be treasurer.
in our mentorship program, Steve and Dorothy have already started with Ted as their mentee. And I don't think it's Ted here. He's on there. So they've already started with him. So we kind of got it started. It's not officially going to start till our November meeting when we'll assign people. But by September, we will have some kind of application process. So you can apply to either be a mentor or a mentee. And we've got to figure out if there are 4A kids in the clubs. You know, we have some who are kids under 18 years old. There'll have to be a special background check for anybody being a mentor to those people. And then some individual sign-offs and stuff. So we want to get this mentor program going and kind of make it a self-sustaining thing. Okay. Other announcements? I think so.
We have a lot of money in the bank.
Yeah, we have one. Okay, so we got some great prizes.
Laura, what's our max number?
Our max number, I believe. Oh, will you pay your dues, yes or no?
Hey, Brian,
Will you pay your dues, yes or no?
oh, good question. I don't remember.
Well, if you do pay your dues to me, we have 17. If you don't, we have 16.
You can leave me out. I'm good with that.
All right, 16.
Yes. Everyone else who said they pay, I'm going on the honor system.
3 prizes.
3 prizes.
All right.
Box of 1 count honey jars, plastic with lids.
Wow. Not theirs, I think.
No. It's
Not
plain.
theirs.
Sits there. 24 jars, white lids, donated by Harry Harold. A new smoker,
Ooh.
Dang.
donated by Texas Bee Supply. So,
All right, first winner is number 12.
Hey.
you want the jars? Jars. Because our donate's got at least 2 super full honey.
All right, the next number is number 8.
Thank you.
I want to see that smoker turn with its back bell upside out the next time you're on TV.
Yeah, well, the one I use is the Texas Beekeepers
Do you
Association.
really?
for the bee brush, we have number 2. All right, congratulations.
Anybody got any other questions, concerns, comments, anything else for the club to do?
So next month, same place.
Next month, it should be the same place, yes. Yep, so we'll be here through our November meeting. And good news here, there's no restrictions on alcohol, so our November party, we can actually have alcohol at it. And I have to sneak around with them.
Whatever.
Right, I have to sneak around with it. There's that. All right, thank you all for coming. Thank you, everybody on Zoom. Have a good night.
I'm gonna end it.
Yeah, go for it.